QVC filed Chapter 11 on April 16, 2026, carrying about $6.6 billion in debt, with a plan to cut that down to roughly $1.3 billion. And the channel never went dark. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. Most people assume bankruptcy means a company shuts down. It doesn't. Chapter 11 is a legal tool that lets a business keep operating while it restructures what it owes. That's the answer to a question a lot of people have, but rarely get a straight answer on: how does a company file bankruptcy on a Wednesday and still charge your credit card on Thursday? Section 1, what Chapter 11 actually is, and what QVC did. Chapter 11 is a court-supervised debt negotiation. That's it. The company doesn't necessarily close, employees don't automatically lose their jobs, and the lights often stay on. What changes is that a federal bankruptcy court steps in and oversees how the debt gets restructured. Think of it less like a funeral and more like a referee walking onto the field when the game gets out of hand. QVC did something even more specific than a standard Chapter 11. They filed what's called a prepackaged plan, which means they'd already worked out a deal with their major creditors before they ever walked into court. The filing itself is mostly a formality. The negotiations already happened. Court approval just makes it binding and official. Now, let's talk about the numbers. QVC came in with roughly $6.6 billion in debt. Their plan targets bringing that down to approximately $1.3 billion. Creditors who are owed billions are agreeing to accept significantly less. And that's not a clerical error. That's a deliberate negotiated haircut. Why would any creditor agree to that? Because the alternative is worse. Here's a way to think about it. Picture a restaurant that owes $500,000 to its landlord, vendors, employees, and a bank. The business shuts down completely. Now all those creditors are splitting whatever's left. The tables, the chairs, the equipment, whatever might be sitting in a bank account. After legal fees, they might recover pennies on the dollar. But if all those creditors sit down together and each agree to take 25 cents on the dollar right now, they'll walk away with more than they'd get from the wreckage. And that's the deal. A structured recovery beats a chaotic liquidation every time. And that calculus is exactly why Chapter 11 works. It creates a framework where less than what you're owed becomes the rational choice, and everyone at the table knows it. On the employee side, QVC said publicly that there are no planned layoffs, no furloughs, and no pay cuts connected to this filing. Vendors and suppliers are supposed to be paid in full. So from a day-to-day operation standpoint, the company's designed to keep running as if nothing happened. The filing is a financial reset aimed at the balance sheet, not the storefront. Now, there's one group in these deals that most people never think about, and what happens to them is genuinely surprising. We'll get there in a second. How bankruptcy actually works for creditors and what Chapter 7 has to do with it. When you hear that QVC's creditors are taking a haircut, there's an order to who gets paid first. Secured creditors, the ones with collateral backing their loans, sit at the top. Unsecured creditors, people owed money without that backing, get whatever's left after the secured group is satisfied. That hierarchy doesn't change just because a company's famous or the debt number's large. The whole system exists to make an otherwise messy negotiation orderly. Without bankruptcy court, every creditor would be racing to grab whatever they could, which usually destroys the business faster and leaves everyone with less. The court slows that down, imposes a structure, and forces a deal that's at least defensible across the board. Now, here's the part I think matters most if you're watching this. I get this question constantly. Why is it that big corporations file bankruptcy and stay open while regular people feel like they lose everything in a Chapter 7? Here's the thing. They're actually using the same playbook, the same legal logic. People just don't realize it. In a Chapter 7, the law specifies exactly what property you're allowed to keep, your exemptions. Anything above those limits gets liquidated to pay creditors. It's the same haircut concept. Creditors recover what they can from what's available, and you get a clean slate on the rest. The scale is completely different, but the core mechanic is identical. A legal framework steps in, imposes order, and gives you a path through debt that isn't total collapse. Big companies do this regularly. Airlines, retailers, manufacturers, and most people barely notice because the business keeps running through the whole thing. The tool works the same way whether the debt is $6.6 billion or $66,000. The difference is that corporations have teams of lawyers who know exactly how to use it. Most individuals don't even know the option exists. QVC's filing is a reminder that bankruptcy is a legal tool, not a life sentence. Companies use it to survive, and people can too. If you're getting calls from collectors, receiving letters, or you've been served a summons, that's a signal to get informed. If you're living in the New York City area and struggling with paying your debts, maybe you're receiving collection phone calls nonstop, or you received that credit card lawsuit, book your complimentary virtual bankruptcy consultation using the link below, and we'll talk through your options.